Hi guys, this is Katie with Certum Solutions in North Carolina, and I'm going to go over a very popular request today, which is a demo of QuickBooks Payroll. And it's taken us a minute to get a demo environment really going, but we went ahead and got one going for today, and I'm going to give you, just a really quick demonstration, okay? Now, one of the things to remember with QuickBooks Payroll is that they have a lot of different tiers and they've added a lot of different benefits. So, depending on what you need yourself, I highly recommend talking to a member of our sales team to discuss which tier you fall into. And I'll put the contact information down in the footer of or the description so that you can reach out to us because it's one of those weird nuancy numbers. Also, before I get into this too deep, you know what I'm going to say. If you like this kind of content, please like this video. If you like the kind of content we do on our channel overall, which is around business and software, then make sure you subscribe to our channel because we're going to come out with something that you love and I don't want you to miss it. Okay. So that all being said, this is your payroll home screen for QuickBooks Payroll. Okay. Recently, they actually added the option to do contractor payments as well. And yes, before you ask me, you can do direct deposit on contractors with your payroll subscription. If you do it standalone, at the time of this video, I think it's about $15 a month, but depending on the payroll package you get, it may come included. The other thing that may come included is QuickBooks Time, which for some of us old schoolers out there, you may remember it as T-Sheets. Intuit acquired T-Sheets a few years ago, and since then it's become QuickBooks Time. QuickBooks Time does integrate with QuickBooks, both desktop and online. In the interest of time, I will do that demo as a separate one. But for today, we'll go ahead and go through payroll. But if you need timesheets, if you need kiosks, which are really popular actually with our construction clients, where you have a kiosk at the job site, things like that, that's all QuickBooks Time. And that will actually push hours and stuff over to QuickBooks through that integration. Okay, and again, I'll go through that in more detail on a future video. So that being said, you can see in this one, we have 14 days till payday. It's going to tell us when our next payday is. If I want to see a recent paycheck list, there's a hyperlink there. This is just your dashboard, really. It has some shortcuts in the top right. You can run payroll, you can add an employee, you can pay a contractor, or you can approve time, okay? Some of the time functions in QuickBooks will prompt you to go over to the QuickBooks Time side because it used to be they were two separate products. You had QuickBooks Time Entry and you had T-Sheets back in the day. Well, then they merged them. They became friends, right? So what they've done is a lot of the QuickBooks features that were there around time are now tied into T-Sheets or QuickBooks Time. The other thing that I'd love to call your attention to, because I personally think this is a really cool feature, is auto payroll. Now, I wouldn't recommend it if you have a lot of wage-based employees where you're tracking hours and things like that and doing reviews that way. But if you have salaried employees who they always get paid the same amount on the same cadence, and you don't want to have to worry about it, you can turn on that auto payroll where it will do payroll for you and you don't have to worry about forgetting it. Because I know they talk about the Sunday scaries, right? I have payroll scaries. I will go, did I remember payroll today? Yes. I have a good record. Plus, I have a really amazing administrator that I work with very closely who is really good at remembering. But if you ever forget or you come close to forgetting, that right there is heart attack inducing, okay? That being said, if you do forget, you can do same day payroll with Intuit Payroll depending on the service you have. So we recently did our Christmas bonuses and we actually staged the bonus that morning and it came out that afternoon, right? So I know we made a lot of people really happy that day. And so that's my favorite part about payroll is that you're showing your appreciation for your team and you're making sure that they have their compensation on a timely schedule. And the cool thing about Intuit is because of the fact that it is a market leader in the accounting software space, they have been adding some really cool features on here recently. Okay, so that being said, I'm going to go up here to my overview and I'm going to click on the employees button. Okay, you have several tabs here, and one of the things I always say about QuickBooks is if you need to get somewhere, they make it so easy because you can usually get to it from multiple places. So here we have, and this is desktop too, by the way. We have the top tabs here under the payroll section. If you go over to the payroll in the left-hand navigation, you can also access those from this other side too, okay? Now, when I'm in my payroll or my employee dashboard screen, it will prompt me to run payroll. Our next one is due on December 13th in this environment. And you can run a list of our filter for active employees, inactive employees, all employees, okay? It says invite to workforce. Workforce is where people can go, or your employees can go to view their pay stubs. So it's like their employee portal, okay? So if you need to invite someone to workforce, you can do that. There's a cool other thing is with contractors, and I believe with employees too, you can actually invite them to enter in some of their own data. So for contractor, if you add a contractor, you don't have to email that W-9 to them anymore unless you like that. You can actually invite them to enter their own W-9 information in QuickBooks themselves, okay? And then we have this really cool button over here over Add an Employee called Add an Employee. Now, that being said, you're going to see this recurring theme in QuickBooks Online. The gears are usually structural, like I'm changing something important about how QuickBooks works. You have your Quick Create button where it says New. That's usually where you're doing your new transactions, new entries, things like that. But if you're trying to change, like here, it says what columns do you want to show? That's my skeleton. That's structural. That's my gear, okay? I had this really sweet yoga teacher years ago who used to call it her flower, which I thought was so cool. So that being said, I'm going to go over here and hit Add an Employee, and we're going to put in a test employee. And it says, do you want your employee to self-set up here? Okay, so I'm going to put test, and then we put email, and then what they'll do is they'll get an invitation to Workforce, and if you want them to self-set up, it'll prompt them for that so that they can get themselves set up in the Workforce portal, okay? I love these little things because instead of setting up an employee with that day, then you or your administrator, your payroll person, whomever, can go on and work on something else, right? Because what's the point in filling out a PDF W4 form to turn it in to be entered when really you could just do it the one time. I hate double work, and that'll be a recurring theme with the stuff that I work on here. So that's your dashboard. You can turn on this privacy feature so that it doesn't show relevant information about the person that you're looking at, you know, pay rates and stuff. So if you're in here for some other reason, you don't want to share that information because it is sensitive, you can hit that privacy button, okay? So that being said, I'm going to click over to Contractors, and I will go through how to run a payroll. I won't actually execute the payroll, but I will show you how to run through it. The Contractors tab actually ties into the vendors that are clicked for 1099. So if you select that a vendor is going to get a 1099, they should show up here under your Contractor tab. You can also set them up with direct deposit by clicking the Pay with Direct Deposit button. It'll say, hey, this person isn't set up for direct deposit. You can go in and set them up, okay? All you do is you turn this on and you add their bank information from a voided check. And then you can also add your contractors here, okay? And again, it says email them to complete their profile. I absolutely love that time saver, okay? I will say that when it comes to ease of use, this has by far, and I've tried 5 or 6 payroll solutions in the last year and worked with, and this has been by far the simplest to use, the most accurate, because I'm not going to name names, but we've had several where the onboarding process doesn't go well for our clients and so on, or and what you have. I'm getting off on a tangent now, but you guys know me now, so I can do that. What you have now is over the last several years, payroll companies have moved away from offering manual payroll solutions. Intuit is one of them. If you go with online payroll, you can't find a manual solution. It's all full service. With desktop, you have the enhanced product where you can still bring in tax calculations and do payroll yourself, but you don't get that payroll guarantee in case of audit. Like if I get audited, am I going to get in trouble? So with the full service payroll, Intuit has taken on that risk and they say that it's audit proof. They have been probably out of that 5 or 6 different vendors that I've worked with, the most accurate provider of payroll services. And when they get an issue or a notice, I've had some that took 3 months to respond to it. Intuit, quick as anything, is usually about 2 weeks max. Now, that being said, that's been my experience. That may not be yours, but I don't think I would go with anyone else. I don't recommend anyone else to my clients at this time. That's not to say I never will, but at this time, Intuit Payroll is where it goes. Now, if you hit, I believe the ceiling is 150 employees. 150, no, they just raised it to 170. So 150, 170 employees, you're starting to max out the capabilities with Intuit Payroll, and you're probably going to need to look at a different payroll solution. But for those of us that use QuickBooks Online, you have under 150, 170 employees, go ahead and use it. And they just raised that ceiling, and I expect them to continue raising it in the future. So that being said, I'm running my mouth. But I guess that's what I'm here to do. So if I click on one of these vendors, I'm going to pick one of these contractors. We have the contractor name. We have their contact information, then we have their bank account information, which in this case, direct deposit is turned off. So what you'll see when you click on payments is you will see all the paper payments. So your check payments that have been sent, you will not see electronic payments that were sent from here. A nice workaround if you have vendors that you need to pay with a check is to use a third-party service like Bill.com or what have you, where the vendor payments option with QuickBooks. You can also, like with me, I have so few of them that I usually use my bank's bill pay option, and then it comes in as a bank feed and we're good to go. Okay, so that's your vendor right there. But I will say, when you get to tell a vendor or a contractor, say, hey, we have direct deposit for you. If you want to make someone's day, I tell you what, a lot of W-9 contractors, they absolutely will love you for that. Okay, so with that being said, let me just jump right back over to my employee section, and I'm going to pick one of my employees here, and I'm clicking on their record. And what you'll see is you will see their name, if they're an active employee or not. Do they use QuickBooks Time? If not, you can send them an invitation. Are they active on QuickBooks Workforce? Are they able to see their pay stubs? You can click the green actions button to say, I want to turn off their workforce access. I want to change their status from active to inactive, or I want to delete this employee altogether. Okay. And as they just prompted you on the screen, they just revamped this view and they continue. I'll be honest with you, when you're using QuickBooks Online, you'll continue to see enhancements over the course of the year. So then you could scroll down to see the personal information. And if you need to edit any of these sections, you can do so from the blue edit text. Any withholding information, their method of payment, are they paper check or direct deposit? Where's your work location, which is critically important as an employer, especially with remote employees. Just check your state laws and check with your payroll company and your CPA or accountant to make sure that your work locations are reflected accurately, because depending on your work location, that's going to trigger nexus and all kinds of tax things that you may need to consider, such as state unemployment taxes. Okay. What their hire date was, their job title, their pay types, and so forth, any PTO that they have accrued, deductions and contributions at the bottom. Okay, that's all listed here. Then you can also click on the Documents tab to view, in this case, a W-4. Okay. And then it will actually give you a copy of the W-4 in a PDF format for downloading and other purposes. That's one of the other parts about having them do it through Workforce when you set them up, or make sure you enter it whenever you set the employee up so that you have those documents associated with that record. And then if you have notes on here, like, you know, birthday's coming up, they love teddy bears. I actually do love teddy bears, but and so add notes here. So you can go ahead and add any relevant notes to this person. T-shirt sizes are big, right? Because we send T-shirts out and I'm forever forgetting everybody's size. So things like that, you can go ahead and take a look at that. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my employee list. Now, we've talked about the overview dashboard, we've talked about employees, we've talked about contractors. Let's click over here to workers' comp. One of the cool things about Intuit Payroll is that they do have a pay-as-you-go payroll service. You know why that's great? Because if you don't have pay-as-you-go, then you get to do that lovely workers' comp audit every year, which let me tell you, if it's between that and getting a wisdom tooth pulled, I'd get a wisdom tooth pulled, but all mine are gone, so I don't have the option anymore. But still, it used to be every July we had to do our workers' comp audit, and you're providing all that data and so on. When you have the pay-as-you-go, your workers' comp company already has accessed all that data themselves, so it's less paperwork for you. And remember what I said about that double work? Yes, we love to get rid of double work. So in that aspect, I love pay-as-you-go insurance. But again, if you have a audited policy that works for you and you love working with that vendor, I don't like to fix what's not broken. But if you're looking for a pay-as-you-go policy, you can do that and it will pull out of your bank account on a regular cadence. Benefits is a newer feature that Intuit probably added about 3 years ago, if memory serves. Um, the benefits plans are great, especially since they know that most of us are smaller employers. So they look for plans that are going to be uh, better for smaller employers. If you have an existing plan, you can connect your existing plan if it is supported by QuickBooks. Otherwise, I believe it says here they're partnered with Simply Insured. That's what I was going to say, and they will help you look for a plan. Okay. That being said, anything to do with large charges over the course of the year, like your health benefits, especially, I always believe in bidding those from multiple providers because we're talking about a substantial expense for your company and for your employees, and everyone wants to get the best value. So I'm not going to endorse nor disendorse this option. I just believe make sure you do your homework and that this is the best fit for you. Under HR, this is, I believe, even newer than the benefits option. You have HR tools that grow with your business, and you have a free HR advisor. So you can send a question there and you have an expert here. Now, just to be completely clear, we have QuickBooks Online Advanced. So check your payroll solution that you have opted for with QuickBooks. Some of these options may be in yours, some of them may not be in yours. But for our QuickBooks Online Advanced, you can actually take advantage of your HR advisor depending on what payroll solution that you have. There's templates here for a handbook, exempt or non-exempt employees. You know, that ties into overtime, or should they be salaried or wage-based? Are they applicable for overtime? And all the rest of the stuff that seems to get more complicated every year. What is your dress code policy? I'm actually kind of interested to see if they have work from home policies because I know we're all going through that right now, right? How do we handle the work from office switching to work from home? Here's one thing that we kind of have an up on is that we've been a work from home business for 15 years. We do have an office where I am right now. Most of our employees are remote workers, but that becomes a communication piece where you have to make sure, am I in good communication with my team on how we handle expectations and time tracking and the rest of it? And it can be something that again becomes a communication piece. Has a hiring and onboarding. We've got a job description, new hire checklist, offer letter template. And then it has a compliance section. Are you following HR laws? Where are your payroll biscuits on the wall, the thing on the wall? Posters. Thank you. So where are your posters with your laws that you need to display? You know, and honestly, I actually have a blog article, another segue, that goes on how to handle the labor postings in the remote workforce. So I will put a link to that as well. How do you manage conflict? Okay. What should you do in the event of a termination? So it has some nice little canned stuff if you don't have an HR advisor available to you. I love free tools and I always believe in taking advantage in what is there. If your situation gets more complex and you need a consultant for that, I strongly suggest that you get one as well. But for most needs and for basic needs, I believe the free HR tools that they have here should be strong enough for you. But again, you know what I'm going to say. Always check with your consultants and advisors and your attorneys as to what's best for your business. Compliance news and information. What's our year-end checklist? Which is awesome because guess what? Another video is I'm working on is what should you be doing at the end of the year to tidy up your books, right? Watch for that actually because I'll be coming out next. I'm about to record that when I'm done with this one. So for payroll purposes, here's your year-end checklist. Here's tax compliance, tax news, and alerts. What payroll product news are relevant to you through the online payroll team? Do you need to print your W-2 and W-3 forms? How do you create a bonus paycheck? Tax compliant links. It goes on and on and on and on. Okay, this is a cool one. How to understand city and state COVID-19 paid leave mandates because we didn't need because we needed payroll to become more complicated, right? COVID came and put a whole slew of new stuff in there. So they have some amazing COVID tools there too. So moving on from there, we've gone through the different tabs, right? And I'm going to now go through how you actually run a payroll. I know you've been waiting on that. I always wait for the good stuff to the end because I know you'll keep watching, or at least I hope you do. And now you know my secrets, and now you're just going to skip to the end. But, watch the middle too, please. Okay, so if I need to run payroll, I'm going to click Run Payroll. There we go. Okay, if they're direct deposit, it will list direct deposit. It lists the name and the rate, and if they're on salary, what that salary is. It has a section for your regular pay hours if you need to put in overtime. If you have, and this is big, so listen to this. If you use QuickBooks Time and you're using the time tracking in QuickBooks Time, and you won't hear this from a lot of people because this is something a lot of people don't know, and your hours are not populating, you're going to call QuickBooks Time and they're going to say, I'm not exactly sure what's wrong there. And you're going to call QuickBooks and they're going to say, I'm not sure what's wrong there. What is wrong is you've got an employee mapped to a vendor record. So maybe you have an expense report vendor for an employee or something like that. Somehow you've mismatched that to your vendor list instead of your employee list. So those hours are not populating. But if you have it configured correctly, your hours for your hourly employees should self-populate, okay? And there actually is an approval process to this as well. If they have any paid time off hours and the rest of this and any holiday pay hours, and you can customize this table, okay? I don't understand why they didn't use our pretty little flower gear, but you do you, man. So then we move over here. We've got any bonus or reimbursement amounts, any memo amounts, or any memo lines. So if anything was special about this check, like it was a short check because of this, or it included this, please note this. You can change that. If you need to manually update the person's pay with the pencil mark, you can do that, okay? And it'll bring up their screen. Some of these fields, if you cannot edit a field from this screen or from any of the payroll screens, most likely you need to go back to your employee record and change it on the record and then continue. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit preview. Awesome. And then what it does is it says, here's your total payroll cost, here's your net pay, employer pay, for a total direct deposit of this amount. Something to keep in mind with QuickBooks Payroll, they are not going to pull your taxes out in most cases at the same time they pull out that direct deposit draw. So while that's going to help your cash flow, that's not to say, oh, well, I don't owe that anymore, right? What it's going to do is it's going to say, here's your payroll costs. That's what you need to make sure that other part of it, any tax deposits, you need to know that's coming later. And then you need to make sure that it's listed in your liabilities account as a payroll liability. Any difference between this number here and this number to the right, the direct deposit amount, just remember that's coming out in a little bit, depending on your filing schedule with those agencies, okay? So list your pay period, list the pay dates. If you want to compare their check to the last one, it's got a button for that. I know most of us don't think about that stuff. So, and then you could, I can't talk, preview your payroll details. You can download it, take a look at it all you want to. I'm not going to hit the submit button at this time, but if it was ready, you could hit submit. If you want to save it for later, save it for later. I'm going to back out of this at this point. but now you've seen how you run payroll. And what did it take us? Like a minute to go through that with all my wordy words. So for you, if you know what your amounts are and everything, it will take you even shorter than that. And that's about as easy as you can make payroll nowadays. Am I right? Okay, so then we've gone over how to enter payroll. We've gone over the employees. We've gone over the contractors. We've gone over what workforce is. We've gone over everything. What have we not gone over? Help me. We've not gone over payroll reporting. I actually knew that. I was going to see if you could come up with it with me. Okay, so I'm going to go down to my left-hand navigation, click on my reports. And if you want to learn more about reporting, and check out my new QuickBooks update video where it goes over some of the updates on custom reports. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to reports, and I'm scrolling down to my payroll section. Any minute now. All right, so here's my employee section. I've got time activities by employee detail, recent and edited time activities. That's for the time tracking. And then you keep scrolling, you've got your payroll section. You've got what are my contractor payments? What are my employee details? What's my employee directory? Which again, super helpful for those of you that are sending out like holiday mailings and things like that. And then you've got any CARES Act reporting, multiple work sites, paycheck history, so on and so forth. Like it's got a ton of different information on your team here. Okay. If you have external workers' comp, they've got a workers' comp report. Okay. There you go. If you're trying to figure out the last time people had a raise, I really suggest using the notes field. But you can also do that paycheck history to take a look at the last time it changed. And then if one of these, I want to keep it in my favorites, where again, I went through that in a recent video. The one under the updates, I believe, is where I went through it. You can star these standard reports, which it doesn't want to do for me right now. Yes, there we go. And what it'll do is it'll bring them to the top. So if you're sitting there going, I know who you are, you're the particular ones like myself. I really like that showing up under my favorites. Why do I have to scroll all the way to the bottom? You do not. Just click the little green star and it's going to show up, okay, under your favorites. Ta-da! See favorites? Perfect. Here we go. Okay, so other things to note. If you use QuickBooks Time and you're billing this stuff to customers, you can set it up so it'll come over as billable and then show up on an unbilled charges report. Okay, and then that will actually give you a running total of what your clients owe you. I love that report. The other things that you can consider, there is an approval process for time. And if you are going to use QuickBooks Time, I heartily recommend getting to learn that platform too, because while this one's super easy and I feel like they have just the right amount of functionality, QuickBooks Time is easy to use too, but it's also very robust. So there's lots of buttons to push. With that being said, I think I've covered everything I can cover in this video. We're rapidly approaching the 30-minute mark. And for those of you that are keeping track, this is your alert to wake up if you're shooting for that power nap and you were trying to shoot for half an hour. Wake up, time to get back to work. Otherwise, if you were watching this for the gems of knowledge that I provided, one more reminder, if you like this video, make sure you like the video. If you like the kind of content that we put out on the Certum Solutions channel, make sure you subscribe to our channel. I love your comments. If you have comments, please provide them on things that you'd like to see more of. If you have things that you'd like to see less of, just email me. I prefer those not to be on the comments, but I love feedback of any kind, and I'm here to provide some education, hopefully some knowledge, and then maybe a little bit of entertainment. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.